In this episode, we are kicking off May's Mayhem Month by taking a look at some toys I wish I still had. So, stick around. Hello, fellow dorks and dorkettes, and welcome to Sentimental. My name is Rob, and this is the show where I talk about different aspects of my childhood. Like in this case, we're talking about some childhood toys that I wish I still had in my collection. In keeping with the Mayhem month of May, we will be looking at villain toys I wish I still had, because Mayhem Month is all about the villains of cartoons, toys, movies, what have you. So, this is shining a spotlight into the shadows for some of those creepy, dastardly, and nasty folks that always give a hard time to our favorite heroes. So anyway, without further ado, let's get to number one. Our first toy that I wish I still had comes from Masters of the Universe. It was released by Mattel in 1984, and it is the character Webster. Not that Webster, this Webster. Now, I remember getting this figure for Christmas from my grandmother, and I absolutely loved it. Now, his rock scaling backpack string thing got to be a real pain in the rump, and I think I even ended up breaking it on Christmas morning, but the figure alone is completely awesome. Now, of course, I could try to find the newer version of it, and I probably will at some point, but this original one just has a place in my heart. Mostly because it came from my grandmother, but also, he's just such a really awesome looking character. I mean, he has multiple eyes, his little upturned pig nose, that shade of blue. I mean, this guy has it all going on. Now, I found the original commercial, so let's take a look at that, and it'll show you the rock scaling capabilities that I had no luck with.
Only Webster and his Skylook can get inside and destroy that laser.
Webster, Castle Grayskull, and Battle Armor He-Man each so separately. You put the castle together.
You like it in this way, then Webster will drop in from above. Now for the laser. I'll get you for that, Webster. Catch me if you can, He-Man.
Webster figure, new from the Masters of the Universe collection. He-Man and Castle Grayskull each sold separately. From Mattel.
Our second toy that I wish I still had comes from the Clash of the Titans toy line, also released by Mattel in 1980. Now, Clash of the Titans was, hands down, the only movie that was true competition to Star Wars for being my favorite. There's various aspects why Clash of the Titans was my favorite. Of course, I'm talking about the action and adventure and all the awesome Ray Harryhausen monsters. Yeah, we'll just move on from that. And this villain was Calibus. Now, the Clash of the Titans figures were like one scale with the Star Wars figures when it came to posability and likenesses of the actors or characters that they were portraying. But I absolutely loved this figure. I mean, it had everything down from his human leg to his bestial hooved leg and a tail. Now, I have to be honest, I broke the tail off at some point and lost it. So mine ran around tailless. But from what I can see out there on the secondary market, that's not a rarity. It's super rare to find one still with a tail, because most of them, yeah, have lost their tail long ago. And beggars can't be choosers. I would even be happy to find one tailless just to get it back into my collection. But as you can see, the wide berth of prices for Calibus is downright crazy. Now, of course, the $800 one that I found was still in package and probably well worth it because of the rarity of these figures. But one day I'd hope to stumble upon one for a fair price with tail, but I'd be happy to go tailless. Our third toy that I wish I still had comes from 1988's Cops and Crooks toy line. This is Dr. Bad Vibes. Now, I had a ton of the Crooks figures, and I would love to have any of them back in my collection again, and they will populate these lists in the future. But Dr. Bad Vibes gets extra credit because this is a toy that you're not going to see nowadays, unless it's, an adult collectible, because he had a clear dome and you could see his brain. I mean, the 80s, they held no punches when it came to stuff like that. Nowadays, I'm sure they would shy away from it when it comes to kids' toys. But back then, I think that was a pretty cool action feature. He also came with an awesome robot with buzzsaw hands. And, of course, he came with a cap-firing gun. One of the most awesome features of the Cops and Crooks figures. I mean, shooting caps was cool. Your action figures that could shoot caps, even cooler, in my opinion. But anyway, I found an original commercial from 1988, and it features Dr. Bad Vibes, along with a whole plethora of other Cops and Crooks figures. So, let's take a look.
Jailbreak to the cops! Cops! Fighting crime in the future time.
Calling all cars, Crooks spotted escaping on airspeeder.
Rock Crusher, escape artist extraordinaire. Armed and dangerous.
Proceed with assault vehicle to Crooks hideout.
Long arm, tough street cop. Member Elite Cops Force.
Give up your trap like rats!
Try and make us cover.
Cops assault vehicle, Crooks airspeeder, Cops and Crooks sold separately with caps.
Number 4 comes from the Brave Star toy line and was released by Mattel in 1986. And I have to point out, with Cops being released in 1988, Brave Star being released in 1986, I was 10 to 12 years old during this time period, and I was still collecting toys, still playing with toys, and having really great fun with it. I don't think kids really keep up with toys for that long nowadays. Maybe I was an oddity back then. Maybe that's just how our collector mindset starts to bloom. I don't know. But anyway, this is Tex Hex. Now, I have to admit, when it came to the Tex Hex figure, I was a total brat. I wanted the one that had the laser firing backpack, and the one that I did get on Christmas morning was sans that. Of course, it was much cheaper without the backpack, and it's an awesome figure regardless, but I feel like I was a little jerk at that time, and I got Brave Star and Tex Hex, both without backpacks, so it's like, what's the point? Of course, now I regret even having those thoughts, because that figure is awesome. He came with really awesome knives and guns, and just was a perfect villain. And I wish I still had him and the Brave Star figure. And of course, I mean, looking at it, they go for a decent price nowadays to an outlandish price, which is still in package. So, kind of understandable. But I would love to get them both back into my collection one day. But Brave Star off to the side, we're here to talk about the villains. So Tex Hex all the way. Would love to get one again. So take a look at the original commercial, and it features some really neat, I don't know if they're actors portraying it or animation, but you'll see what I mean. It's pretty awesome. Our fifth and final villain toy that I wish I still had is kind of cheating, because it's not necessarily a toy in its own right, but it could carry your toys. This is the Darth Vader head collector case, released by Kenner in 1980. Now, I loved my Darth Vader collector's case head, and I mean, the only thing that kind of was a bummer about it was the stickers it came with. I hardly had any of the figures, so I had all these stickers, but not the figures. It was just one of those grim reminders that you need to collect more, but you didn't have the means or the money to do that. But awesome nonetheless. I mean, I ended up carrying G.I. Joe, Star Wars, and whatever 3 3/4 bric-a-brac I could find. And yeah, I loved carrying this case everywhere that I went. I don't know whatever happened to mine. I'm sure it got donated when I was too old. And yeah, that's just a real bummer, because something like this just doesn't break. I mean, this was made to be tough and tumble and take it with you wherever you go. And of course, I think I lost the little thingy-majigs that held the figures inside, so they would end up rattling around in there, but who cares? This would be awesome to have in my collection today, because you just said it there, it's a big Darth Vader head. I mean, can't go wrong with that. Again, I was lucky enough to find an original commercial for it, so let's take a look at it and bask in the awesomeness of Darth Vader's head.
It's the Darth Vader collector's case from Kenner's Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back collection. You can display it or open it up into an action figure storage unit. It holds up to 31 action figures like Bosk, Lando Calrissian, and IG-88. Action figures each sold separately. There's even a handy chamber for accessories. And it's got a hidden handle, so you can take it with you. Darth Vader collector's case from Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back collection. Action figures each sold separately. New from Kenner.
Anyway, folks, that was a look at 5 toys I wish I still had from my childhood, Villain Edition, so we can celebrate May's Mayhem Month, which, yep, is all about the villains. So look forward to the rest of this month when we take a look at different villains from cartoons, toys, and so on and so forth. As you saw throughout this video, prices go everywhere. So I'm going to be optimistic and say maybe one day I'll be able to get one of these back into my collection. But until then, I can only dream and look at all the beautiful pictures online of other people's collections and, yeah, root for them behind the scenes. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them and I love getting back to everyone. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this or any of the videos that YouTube is recommending down here, just all down here, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you'll be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad and stay dorky.